Internet. Welcome to Shenanigoons, Book of Fables, that fairy tale D&D game where you contribute to the chaos. I am Angela, your DM, and these are our delightful players. Hello, players.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you all doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Very good.
I am alive.
That is good.
Hope all you out there in, I wanted to call it TV land, but that's not accurate. It's as good as TV land at this point, but I hope you all are having a wonderful evening at Tuesday night today. Thank you all to Banana Brothers for rating us earlier.
Yes.
I am absolutely endeared by your holiday special, and you all are really good guests. So thanks for sharing this. We are, as you, I'm apparently very.
Yes, and I am curious as to
As
that.
loud as I can. Can you hear me now?
Let's see if that fixed you.
Try it. Okay, I'll try to speak at a normal volume now. So, we are continuing our journey through the Book of Fables this evening. We are on chapter 6, and today's chapter is called Training Montage. And we're going to kind of mix things up a little bit today. This is not going to be 100% your standard episode. We are going to have a bit of a discussion. Not to peek too far behind the curtain, but we as a group already knew this when the campaign was starting, that our young adventurers were eventually going
Oh my, we've got a new subscriber.
I couldn't hit that note if I tried right now. So our young adventurers are going to become slightly more grown-up adventurers and have a class now. So let's see, maybe it's on me. You know what it was? It was Friday. I turned my gain down. It was Friday for singing. I don't need to worry about blowing up the microphone. So that's probably helping.
Yeah, I was really confused. I was like, I have you all the way up. I'm so confused right now.
So our training montage is going to be a little bit of a journey through the amorphous amount of time that will be passing for some of our characters, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how they develop as heroes. We're going to try to I'm going to ask we try to keep crunch conversation to a little less of a conversation. We're gonna have more of a narrative discussion about how your characters develop, and we're gonna explore what their training looks like and what their mentorship experience is going to be over the next insert timeline here. We'll figure that out, but presumably plenty of time passes and several of you are able to mature into more young adult than teenager, and we will have that discussion. But first, we would be I hope you all like the reads on our slides. It's actually happy December, everybody. We are members of Nerdsmith. In fact, the four of us are directors at Nerdsmith, and we really love singing the praises of our little community. You can find out more about us at nerdsmith.org or join our Discord server, which is where our community mainly thrives. You can find a link down below the stream or in the chat if someone would put in the code for Discord. It'll give you a link and you can come join us. All of our creators are there hanging out, and a bunch of our regular listeners. We have it's an exclamation.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we changed it.
Yeah, it's okay. It is a place for you to find a fun community of nerdy folks that we cater to all sorts of hobbies and discussions, and you can find a safe place there if you are looking for a community to spend a little time with and share your enjoyment of our program. Please check us out. And we are, as a network, sponsored by a number of amazing companies that help us keep the lights on and help us give you cool stuff. So we want to give a little bit of a shout out here quickly to our sponsors, starting with Eldritch Foundry, our newest sponsor. They are an amazing an amazing character designer slash mini printer company. You can go to eldritch-foundry.com, but you can check our referral link in the chat. That gives them a heads up that you're directly supporting us if you use that link with your purchases. So please check them out. They have some beautiful artwork, beautiful fantasy art for your next character mini, and we highly recommend you check them out. So we also have World Anvil. World Anvil's amazing. World Anvil is an incredible campaign management and writing and I lost all words in my brain. It is a world building and campaign management tool. One of the best. We love their community. Easily the best community involved in that sort of thing. But every single week, almost every day, they're coming out with new features on their site. We recently got pinged on their Discord server, which is really amazing because that usually means that they have something new coming out. World Ember just started today. You should check out World Ember if you're a glutton for punishment and you just finished National Novel Writing Month and you would like another 30 days of writing challenges, you should check out World Ember, which is 30 days of writing prompts to add to your world building. They have just recently expanded prompts to be year-round, but World Ember is a very special time of year. They have giveaways, they have awards for best categories. This is super duper fun. We actually won. No, we got nominated last year. Did we win or we were nominated? We got nominated. I don't remember if we won, but we did have one of our World of Veil articles for the Goa get nominated, and it was super duper awesome. And yeah, so you should definitely check out worldanvil.com. And I probably won't do World Ember straight up, but I love getting their prompts every day, so I will probably start using them as little inspiration points for this game and for other games that I run. So keep an eye out for what I'll do is every Tuesday I'll at least talk about what the prompt for the day is, so that you will know what is coming up, or rather what is currently happening, I guess is the actual way to say that. And I'm gonna look right now at what the current thing of the day is, but in the meantime, Tessa, would you like to talk about our final sponsor?
Yeah, I can do that, but just one second. I gotta make sure I've got everything ready for game. I've got my dice, got more dice, and I have my dice roller. What am I missing?
Dice tower.
Alright, well, how am I gonna carry a dice tower? Ha ha ha. Well, Die Hard Dice has come out with something new and exciting with a pop-up mobile dice tower. So now
Innovation.
I can take it with me and not have to worry about trying to carry a big clunky dice tower wherever I go. So you too can purchase the pop-up dice tower at dieharddice.com, and when you use our coupon code Nerdsmith-DEC for December, you will get 10% off of your order for the month. But here's the cool thing. Die Hard Dice is also having their holiday sale going on right now until December 20th. So when you use our coupon code, instead of getting 10% off, you'll get 15% off. So it's an extra bonus until December 20th if you want to get your very own pop-up dice tower, which is very mobile, easy to take with you. So the adventure comes with you. And also they have some really beautiful Untamed sets that are giving back to charities working with educational programs and children in underprivileged communities. So for every set of the Untamed line that you purchase, an additional set will go to help kids learn to use their creative sides. So thank you very much to Die Hard Dice. We here at Nerdsmith love being sponsored by you. I need to go buy some more dice. I don't think I have enough, so I'm gonna go use our coupon code. Bye!
Oh god, okay, we lost our producer.
Dice everywhere.
We need to set up some sort of thing where you just kind of like exit stage left quickly. Um, so let us get started, shall we? All right, everybody.
Oh, 1 second.
Yeah.
I am so much
Oh
better.
my, we've got a new subscriber.
It really does collapse down nice and flat as well. That's
Well, not only that,
awesome.
it fits in your dice tower that you got from them, or the dice tray.
It does fit in my dice tray.
Yeah, it fits like snugly. Isn't it always also when it's like up?
Yes, when it is up, it
Fit in
absolutely.
your
Here, I'll
dice
show you. It absolutely 100%
I didn't
fits.
mean I'm the worst QVC.
You
co-host.
are, but it's okay.
Put it down before mentioning it can do something.
Yeah, it fits
It's like
perfectly.
It fits in your tower.
So
Or fits in your tray.
fits in your tray perfectly.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
it's
Is
very good, and I love the collapsible and how you can just like sneak them both in your backpack or something.
It makes me very, very happy to be able to just be like, oh,
Heck yeah. So,
Yeah.
I would like to continue with chapter 6. So let's discuss a few things. When last we left our heroes, you had all reconvened together, which is very exciting. It took a minute, but no, it's gonna just have to be that. It took a little bit. We followed the misadventures of Oliette and Villain as they journeyed to try to reunite with you all. They ran afoul of a few, let's call them mean girls. A few underdark or sort of underdark-esque fae creatures. A drider, a girl drider, a specter, a tree ent of some kind, and some sort of rat person, dwarf, rat person thing. You know, it's Feywild. Not everybody's gonna ascribe to the PHB in terms of.
is she
race.
a dwarf lady or was she a rat?
Definitely kind of a rat. So so Oliette and Villain ran afoul of these mean girls while they were traveling underground and had to out mean girl them. Villain gave Oliette sort of a pep talk of, throw back as much as you get, and Oliette took to that like a judgmental 16-year-old duck to water. It was, I mean, ducks are jerks, but like Oliette really, wow, what have we done? Felt incredibly like we had opened Pandora's box a little bit with this concept for Oliette.
No, not the storm we unleashed.
Yeah, get ready, folks. So they made their, but after let's call it banishing Leakashell, the Strider, let's call her the Regina George of the group, or the Heather Chandler. Man, I really had a lot of names I could have really riffed off of giving her a name, but I didn't do it. Anyway, so after banishing the head mean girl, Oliette found herself with 3 clingers on, as the other girls fell into step behind her and followed and went with them to the surface. They traveled through the lands of Her Majesty of the Hunt, and seemingly arrived fairly close to when you all did, except at the tail end. You all were gone by the time they arrived at the tower, and they got a ride, or near the tower, and they were rescued from the barrage of arrows from the tower by Sigfrin. Sigfrin is the giant raven that is under the purview of the Her Majesty of the Vine. Making nice with Sigfrin and having identified Villain and Oliette as your friends, Sigfrin offered a ride. So Oliette and Villain flew the rest of the way across the lands of Her Majesty of the Hunt and into the realm of the Queen of Vines. You all reunited in the Queen's throne room, where you were in the chamber, the theater of Her Majesty of the Folk. She doesn't like keeping secrets, and therefore the meeting of the Queen's moot, was done with an audience. You proceed to learn a bit about the history of this world and the history of the Queen's coming to power. That there was once a king, the Lord of Tales, a selfish and cruel leader who amassed power and wielded the making of this written world, and collected queens from the corners of this world, and the queens decided at a certain point that they had quite enough of that nonsense and conspired to depose him in a relatively violent manner. Like, props to Queen of Beauty who set him on fire. The story ends, and you are told you will be trained. That you seem to have some part to play, but at the moment you are not ready to face whatever might come about. Sending you back could unleash the Lord of Tales, and they don't want to keep you here by force, so they want to at least see if you have a fighting chance to deal with him, because surely him entering the physical realm would put your own livelihoods and your families in danger. Not just the fact that if he left the book, the first thing he would probably do is burn it. So, you are all sort of led to lodgings. You know, you spend some time among the people of the various queensdoms, and you settle into a little bit of a routine, and time begins to pass. It's been a very raucous 48 hours, potentially. It's hard to tell how time moves. But it hasn't been very long. And you realize that you're going to be here for a while. And there's a part of you that doesn't mind it so much. Some of you have found quite a few reasons to stay here, or at least you don't have many reasons to go back. So we're going to talk a little bit about your experiences, and this is going to be a slightly longer form discussion, not necessarily play by play, minute by minute. We're going to kind of jump around a little bit in the timeline. And yes, I did get jump around stuck in my head just then. So let's discuss who should go first. Let's go with the obvious one. Beza, you are a squire. You have been recruited. And Sir Tuskendale took it upon himself to teach you the martial arts. Now I think about that more. So taught you his martial skills. How to fight with weaponry, how to best your opponent in the field of battle, how to track and be a fierce seeker of justice and chivalry.
Mm-hmm.
But that basic concept of what it is to be a knight in the service of a higher calling, he tries to instill that in you, but there is not a shadow, but there's a supervisory training you are given outside of what Sir Tuskendale is capable of teaching you. Her Majesty of the Hunt has taken great interest in what you are, not just who you are. And you are familiar with your previous interactions with her, that part of her power and skill comes from the drafting and carving and enchanting of magic runes on objects. Her bow, which had been seemingly tainted by the Lord of Tales, some sort of machinations by the Lord of Tales, originally had a rune on it that imbued it with certain abilities and certain properties. Same with the giant tree arrows that she was firing. She impresses upon you that her fellow queen, Her Majesty of the Word, and herself both understand the power of words and how primal that can be. But whereas Her Majesty of the Word likes to tell stories or ascribe meaning through law and agreement and contract, Her Majesty of the Hunt is accessing a deep magic, something that can be expressed in a single word or a single symbol to really access primal magics. So let's talk a little bit about something you are taught or something that you learn during your training, either with Sir Tuskendale or Her Majesty of the Hunt.
Okay. So I think since you were just talking about it, the runes made me think of one of the things that the queen would have taught her. It's something that she, in particular, given Beza's size, feels like will be useful for her.
Okay.
I'm looking up the name.
Sure. I mean, yeah, you guys can give me the name of the ability if you want as we're talking. It's more just like we won't worry about getting bogged down too much in the nitty-gritty of the mechanics. Just want to give flavor.
Yeah, that's fine. But especially as Beza probably is learning more and more from Sir Tuskendale and more able to handle her weapons well, the queen realizes that sparring with anyone given her size is tricky. Everyone has to, certain people probably have to hold back because she's so little, and teaches her how to use some of the runic magic to make herself larger.
As we have established before, Her Majesty of the Hunt is a very large, imposing figure. Herself a storm giant in appearance. Also someone who, as I have said, does not unlike some of the other queens, does not seem to have the same impulse to make herself smaller for other people's comfort. And so she definitely would try to impress upon you that there are definitely times where having an impressive silhouette can help turn the tide of a battle. And there's both physical and psychological benefits to doing that.
Yeah, which makes sense. So Beza can't hold it for very long, but she is taught how to make herself go from being small-sized, because she's only like 3 feet tall, to large-sized.
2 sizes bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do you suppose that is done? Does she have she get basically tattooed, for lack of a better descriptor, with a rune that allows her to do that, you think?
I think that would make the most sense.
Sure.
With the runic magic, there's a limit to how many you can actively be using at one time. But this particular...
if it's not exactly one of your runes that you get access to, we can kind of flavor it as being something a bit more subtle. Maybe it's less a carving and more a painting on you or something like that. Something. Yeah. She did it in
or
Sharpie.
Some part that
Just permanent marker.
Yeah. Or something that the queen like installs in her.
Sure. Ooh, okay. Here is the camera fades into a montage clip. So Her Majesty of the Hunt is in the forge in her tower, in the Overlook Tower. And she is crafting a um a brand, like a big brand, and she has to kind of carve it into a frame and then heat uh, a very fine metal, maybe a mix of metals, something more alchemical than straight up like iron. And she melts them in the heat of the furnace that she has in her forge and pours the shape into this frame that she's designed. And when she removes this brand, it is like sharp, fierce angles, very similar to the giant runes that Harland is able to kind of suss out their meaning. And this brand is something that she uses during a ritual to imbue this particular rune. And you basically have a shot of uh, Beza uh, on one knee in sort of a knight being knighted sort of pose, and the queen behind you basically branding on your shoulder blades this runic symbol. And there's just like a sizzle, and when she pulls it back, there's like this opalescent tattoo branded on your back in this giant rune. And slowly, like, it's there, it's very obvious, it kind of shines in the light a little bit, but you do notice that over the next couple of days it starts fading, and until it's not noticeable anymore, it kind of just goes away. But when you activate that ability, that tattoo shines back on your back. So it is something that becomes obvious when you, yeah, she's totally siren. It becomes obvious when you activate that ability. It is something that is now like just inherently in your body. It's not a rune that she teaches you. It is a gift from her.
I like that. I think that works.
Okay, 1 for 3. Now we're going for. So yeah, Her Majesty. How would you characterize your how well do you get along with your mentors? What is sort of the rapport you build with them, you think?
Considering the extremely rocky start Beza had with her actual like creator father figure and the ex-wife mother figure who is actually the one that turned her in.
You can't really get rid of since you sound like her.
No, I know. But I think I imagine that the relationship between Beza and Sir Tuscandale and Beza and the Queen, it wouldn't be quite motherly and fatherly because they're her teachers, but it's sort of like that teacher where you have a little bit of that sort of a rapport with them. Like they're almost like an extra father figure and extra mother figure. Plus Beza doesn't know what a father and mother are supposed to be like.
Sure.
Like literally has no clue. So
Yeah,
they're probably
given an
the closest
example of a
thing.
more parental trait. Let me propose a concept to you. Jedi Master-esque.
Yes.
So teacher family bonding sort of thing, but very much within the purposes of trying to prepare you for a life of service to a higher calling. But there is very much
that would be a good way to describe it.
Familial connection.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally starting to like take over her training and teaching when she's like what 2.5 days old.
Yeah, they're starting.
She knows
like,
nothing
it
else.
is just as good as having started with them, I think, as far as Beza might be concerned. So we will cut to a bit of a montage again for Beza. This tattoo is granted to her. This rune is granted to her from Her Majesty of the Hunt, and who you refer to as Her Majesty or Your Grace. And you are run through your paces. You are given you're sparring with Sir Tuskendale. Sometimes you're sparring with Dunbus, learning how to deal with someone who is not necessarily going to follow the rules of engagement, needing to figure out how to hunt creatures. You roam the lands of Her Majesty of the Hunt, first with Sir Tuskendale at your side, and then sometimes by yourself, hunting creatures, monsters, things that as Her Majesty seems to imply, and then outright tells you, some are remnants of the King of Tales' influence on this place, his corrupting influence on some things that have existed here. Some of them are creatures that were corrupted beyond redemption, things that used to be more benign and sort of mutated into monstrosities. And some of them were just always like that. Her Majesty of the Hunt eventually tells you the tale of fighting the gargoyle. Sir Tuskendale gave you a little bit of Cliff's Notes of this idea of a hunt or a battle on the roof of her tower against this fiendish creature that followed the orders of the King of Tales. But you do get the sort of ribald retelling of it from the horse's mouth, I guess. You also get to know some of the other huntsmen, the other members of her court. There's a whole crowd of them, different styles of fighting, different focuses, different talents, but they're all warriors. They are all physical warriors. Her Majesty of the Hunt does not seem to follow many tenets of spellcasting as a primary means of showing one's prowess. She's very much involved with your body as an extension of the land, and so even Sir Tuskendale, who can cast some magic, is usually using that magic to enhance his already existing physical abilities, so that he can then go forth into battle enhanced, not necessarily stay in the back. It is not a place of a huntsman to be in the back. Not that is a place of shame, but it is just not their calling. Their calling is to be the vanguard, and that is sort of the principles that are instilled in you as a member of her court, which you come to consider yourself after a time. There is not much of a understanding of the passage of time for you physically. You will always appear as you do. But I imagine, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I imagine that Beza gets a slightly better handle on how the world works, at least how this world works. Not as out of touch as she might have began. Though, returning to the Prime Material one day, you might find yourself, again, not sure what the hell anything is, because some things in the Prime Material weren't here. So you're that is the beginning of Beza's journey to becoming a rune knight. So we will go to Paru next, with the next clearest trajectory of training. Paru, you are to some extent taken under the wing of Her Majesty of the Vine.
Mm-hmm.
She is more of a presence that kind of flows in and out of your life here in the Fae book. She will occasionally see how you're progressing with your studies. She will occasionally have a spell or a ability here or there that she wishes to impart on you. But the vast majority of your time and energy and social life is spent among the Myconids. You basically, they get a new roommate, is basically how that works. You and Sniffs return to the underground, and not that that's the only place that the Myconids exist. They exist all over the place. And in fact, where you first met them was firmly in Her Majesty of the Hunt's realm. But you discover, spending time with Sniffs and exploring the tunnels, that this vast network of pathways stretches the entirety of the knowable world. There are many communities, many adventures to be had without ever seeing the sun. And you spend a lot of time down there learning how to communicate better with the fungal pathways that coat the world down there. There does not seem to be a name for it. It's not one being, that sort of coating on the tunnels. It's a consciousness, but it's sort of a shared consciousness. It's also connected to the Myconids. It's very esoteric to try to explain what that is to someone. But you do have a strong connection with the Myconid community, and specifically with Sniffs, who you grow to be a very close friends with. Let's talk a little bit about something that Paru develops as she learns how to connect with the spores and such creations in the Book of Fae.
I think one of the key things, and it probably is triggered in like a moment of panic, is the Halo of Spores ability.
Ooh, okay.
Where she and Sniffs are probably exploring some part of those tunnels that you were talking about and just getting off into mischief, because that is probably their MO in most things.
Haru seems like a learn by trial and error kind of person, rather than a study sort of person.
Yeah, trial by fire is absolutely her way of doing things. And oh my god, Kyle, that was brilliant. And it hurts, and I'm so proud of you at the same time.
I'm so mad. Anyway, if you'd said it out loud, you would have gotten inspiration. But you didn't.
Nope.
So, go ahead, Tessa. Please continue talking about these circumstances that you developed this cloud of spores.
I think she, much like when she first met Sniffs with the mole creature that was going after him, they stumble on something larger. And I am not looking, so I'm really glad that I didn't, but now I have to. Nice.
Somebody please copy all of those. I want to put them on the Twitter.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
And I think she, like, puts an arm out to stop Sniffs from getting too close to something, and that symbiotic entity kind of happens between them, and she throws up her, I believe probably at this time she's got like a club or a sickle or something that she uses. Sure. And she brings her weapon up to like start defending them, and accidentally throws these poisonous mushroom spores out from her weapon, and just kind of looks confused like, what the heck just happened? Yeah.
I mean, Sniffs is very impressed. Honestly, probably runs you all the way back to one of the collectives.
Yeah.
What you can do kind of attitude. You do notice when you do that, and you make note of it, it's like, Sniffs grew a couple inches. He's not as short anymore. He's like a little taller.
That's awesome.
It's quite charming. So yeah, you develop, you have found that through your connection, and actually, I have decided that the connection, the tunnel, the tunnel fungus, we're gonna call it the circle.
I like it. A literal circle of spores. I like it.
Yeah, that's where it came from. So yeah, you have gathered that you have a connection to the fungal elements in this world, and they're everywhere. You get a real sense of the nature of something like that. How vast and interwoven that sort of life can be. The idea that one point in this connective tissue is a weird way to put it, but I'm gonna go with it. That one point of this can just be completely connected to one on the other side of the world. That network is so it's so in sync with itself. It's a very powerful connection to feel, and there's almost times where that feels more real than the few years you've spent feeling slightly connected to the Gabi Yaga. Just a few times, because it's in your face. You're actively getting to connect with it, actively feeling it, and it reminds you of that feeling, and it's almost like what you wish you had with the Gabi Yaga a little bit. But there's like there are people that you know you can connect with through it. There are ways you can see into you find that some of the Myconids can actually use the circle network to see places on the other side of the land. You get glimpses of abilities that some of these Myconids have that are so impressive, and you kind of file them away for the future, thinking, I'm gonna learn how to do that one day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on some level she's a little disappointed that she still doesn't feel like she's grown any closer to the Gabi Yaga. I mean, I think she's honed some of her abilities, definitely, especially with the glimpses of the future. But she still keeps reaching out for that voice, but isn't really sure that she's getting there. Oh my god, a mountain troll fight with us having 0 player levels would be catastrophic.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that to y'all. Oh my gosh.
Maybe next week or the week after.
Maybe the week after that. How about we'll go with that? So as you continue learning, and growing as a druid, circle of spores, you again continue traveling the world of this book. You with your trusty pal by your side. And we're gonna do a little bit of a visual montage in your mind's eye.
All right.
Picture it, Sicily. Picture it, Book of Faebles. Think about the scene in The Lion King when Simba's hanging out with Timon and Pumbaa, and they're walking across the log, and Simba's like growing from.
Oh my god, yeah.
So Sniffs is real tiny, right? And he's like behind you, and you kind of stay kind of the same size because you're just a goblin. And you see like, oh, he gained a few more inches. He's up to your chest now. He's as tall as you now. He's a little bigger than you now. And as time passes, as you're fighting together and exploring together, and he's getting more connections to his abilities, and you get a sense that you don't really know what the life cycle of a Myconid is.
I have no idea, yeah.
When all is said and done, at the point at which we will continue with your story, Sniffs is a solid 6.5 foot tall giant mushroom.
Yes!
He's a beefy boy. He's all the umami. So Sniffs is very much taken from your little cheerleader in the background, like punching the air, trying to like root you on,
to like no.
to very much a protector.
Mm-hmm.
He has taken it upon himself to very much be the thing that gets between you and big, mean, physical things.
Mhm.
You work together quite well, but you do get a sense of he draws the line in the sand and is like, come at me, bro, like that sort of thing. And he just like can pummel things. He's squishy, but he's very good. He's still him though.
Mm-hmm.
He's still got that very pantomime attitude, and that's mainly how he communicates with you. You both develop a bit of a rapport and a bit of a nonverbal language that you can express with. The Myconids in general, when dealing with non-Myconids, have that pantomime or slightly signing language that they can use to impart ideas, and you both kind of build a little bit of a sort of a shorthand together with that, so that you can speak. And then there's sometimes when you reconnect or reunite with your friends, with your also fellow out of the book people.
I probably forget to
Sometimes, yeah, you've always been here. Sometimes it feels like, sometimes you're called off-shelfers. So
I like it.
But when you're with them, and Sniffs is with you, sometimes you're like in your own little world, and they're just like, hey, like, what's up? You want to like talk or something? And you're just like, oh right, I talk. That's a thing. And so yeah, so you have this rapport, this really tight, close knit friendship with Sniffs. And so yeah, let's talk a little bit about how you think Haru settles in with her mushroom friends. What is sort of what's the tone of her relationship with them? And remembering that there are a variety of communities under the ground and above on the surface. You meet Myconids all over the world. You realize how vast and how populous they are. It's like there's the mushrooms and then everybody else, and it's almost like a 50-50 split. Like there are a ton of these things running around in different forms. Bipedal, more like the tunnel thing where you wouldn't even think it's a person. But yeah. Kyle, I'm gonna block you. So let's muse a little bit on that.
I think that she does, like, very, very long time, just forget the fact that she speaks. I think that she kind of goes very much into this interconnectedness and just really uses almost this network to communicate across everything. And given how unhappy she was, I mean, she's totally comfortable living underground. It's a little awkward for her being a goblin who doesn't have dark vision.
But you find that
with the luminescent mushrooms,
the illumination, you find that the bioluminescence kind of predicts your appearance.
Yeah.
And I imagine you do learn spells, ways of sort of mimicking that bioluminescence. I would say any light spells that you know probably have more of that vibe than so like say if you had dancing lights, it's basically just spores that light up with bioluminescence. That sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of your, I imagine, and you and I can talk as the campaign goes on, but I imagine that a lot of your magic is going to get a little flavored, like it's going to have some umami to it. But the idea that a lot of them are going to be sort of flavored as if you were learning those abilities from the Myconids directly, or from Her Majesty of the Vine. And we'll talk about her a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as I was saying, you probably learn quite a bit from Her Majesty of the Vine in terms of maybe like higher level, more formal druidic training.
Probably the wild shape abilities where she actually learns the proper wild shape.
Absolutely, you learn that from her. She imparts that on you as a rite, R-I-T-E, a rite that druids can go through. You do get along with Midge as well. Midge seems very much like a lieutenant, sort of like a high-ranking member of her court. And so you learn quite a bit from. Thank you, Mr. Blanks. You learn quite a bit from Midge and Her Majesty of the Vine. Her Majesty of the Vine seems like she has a lot on her plate.
Mm-hmm.
So Midge probably takes over some of the nitty-gritty stuff. Like once you are imparted with the basic concept and you are given this sort of insight into what it means to take the form of another creature, to connect with something so intimately that you experience the world literally through their eyes, you then are just kind of, Midge takes over and is like, all right, we're gonna actually do some drills now. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
So you get that sort of coach like rapport with Midge a bit.
I think she works in the maze a lot too with her earth shaping abilities and things like that. She probably goes to work with Midge in those moments of like reshaping, making sure that, you know, the farming is going well.
Well, and not just that, there are bound to be moments where your skills come into play, where there are, you find that there are not as many druids as you think among the Minotaur. A lot of them are just farmers.
Mm-hmm.
They're people of the land. They care for it in any way they can, whether or not they have magical aptitude or not. But there are definitely moments of, and your montage of growth, not just the mushroom Simba moment.
As Paru does not really get any taller.
No, but probably includes some things where, say, there is either some sort of disaster or natural disaster or conflict, again, with monstrosities or some sort of spirits or things, and part of the maze catches on fire, and you're dealing with, like, fighting the blaze, but also repairing it after. And so maybe there are parts of the maze that are not so much corn after a while. There might be just some briar. There might be some more fungal growth in some spots. You do notice as you get around the outskirts of the maze that it's not all corn. There are sort of modifications to different parts that could imply damage. Could also imply younger people learning how to, it's like almost like a rite of passage to take part in building the maze. It's a community effort.
Yeah. I like that.
That's sort of the, you get a little less of a, like, one-on-one mentorship and more like you're becoming part of a larger community.
Which makes a lot of sense. For
I was gonna say,
particularly her.
Paru comes from a big family, doesn't she?
She comes from an interconnected community, like where there's this whole concept, especially with her. It's like this concept of ownership of a thing is very tenuous. If somebody has something that you need, you just go borrow it and you return it when you're done. But like asking permission, it's like it belongs to the community. Why do you need to ask? So it's kind of this this thing that she develops is like, why do I need to ask you? I mean, we're a community. I mean,
exactly.
What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. There's no what.
And that is still very much reinforced with your relationships with the Myconids and with the Minotaur. Myconids and Minotaurs gotta be
there's a game in there somewhere.
It's your new band. It's your
Myconids and Minotaur, yeah.
Band. Yeah.
Absolutely. Druid core.
I mean, Minotaurs play bluegrass in my world.
Oh hell yeah, hell they do.
So anyway, yeah, that is the tone of your upbringing, for lack of a better term, among the Book of Fae communities.
I think that's great. And I think there's still a little bit of confusion for her is the fact that she's not aging like a goblin would. And that's weird to her.
Like, she's not really, it's slow if noticeable at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really strange.
Really, the main way you can tell the passage of time is the seasons,
Mm-hmm.
which many pass. You wonder a little bit how seasons change here.
Mm-hmm.
It is not like there's no way to really know how much time passes.
Yeah.
You only really know by seasons and by the fact that Sniffs keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
Like, what are you eating, dude?
Yeah, because clearly it's not working here. I think, yeah, the most that changes in Paru is she probably loses the baby fat, and that's
She gets
about
sort of,
it.
like, svelte.
She gets a little
Like,
svelte and a little like, okay, but
oh my god,
There's no,
Haru
like-
and Midge as workout bros.
oh hell yeah,
Like-
absolutely.
There's a shot of her doing crunches on Midge's arms, and she's like, "What are you doing?"
I love that the idea that most of our group is, you know, a normal medium-sized creature, and then you have Paru and Beza, who are both tiny but like strong and muscular.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Tiny powerhouses.
So, to our more
Mhm.
abstract member of the group in terms of
Yes.
training trajectory, let's talk Harland for a bit, Kyle. So, Harland is given a bit more independent study than some of the others. Partly because, I mean, Gura, the turtle, sort of impresses upon people that you need to find your own path, like you specifically. Like, leave the boy alone. He needs to find his own way. And there is a point where Gura has sort of more formally taken you under his wing, and basically just tells you to start walking. And he's like 60 feet behind you, and you walk for like a week. He doesn't explain where you're going. He just wants you to dictate what they're doing, and you find that his method of teaching is like a mix of sort of ruminating on the nature of existence while also he's very Mr. Miyagi. It's very opaque what he's doing or why he's doing it or if he has a reason. And there comes to be a point where you get a hint of inspiration that perhaps what Gura is doing is trying to embrace the randomness that seems to follow you everywhere you go in an attempt to maybe formulate a hypothesis for how to have more control over it or understand it better. And you realize you're kind of a little science experiment to him. It's a little bit of the vibe he gives. He's a little inaccessible in terms of emotion, and he's always sort of been like that, but he continues to be like that. But you do get a sense that he has a fondness for you. He's just, his mind is on bigger topics most of the time. So let's talk a little bit about how Harlan develops as a sort of innately talented spellcaster.
I would think that, like, as especially after the first week, they might encounter a group of people and just seeing things that need doing. He comes from a farming community, much like Paru did. So just like lending a hand wherever he needed to, and just like he's this like oversized oaf that is technically capable of doing these things, but I think I think that it's more through like interacting with that randomness of never knowing what's going to happen and being okay with it, understanding that random happens and that you don't necessarily control it, you just channel it. It's like you just guide it until it like or I guess that there are things that he could learn how to do that kind of nudge it in a direction that he thinks that it wants to go,
Mm-hmm.
and to like make it manifest. I'm not really, I don't know if I have a specific example of like something like that. I just
I could find one.
well, I mean, I think as far as like class abilities, I think what might happen is that like his experience to date has been that random crap happens, and it's not usually a good thing when it does, because it's always like, oh, it's Harlan again. You know, it's something happened. It must be Harlan. I think that something happened, and like he caused something to happen just by being there, and it was going to like immediately harm someone. And so I
Sure.
think that he basically, like, you know, when you like chuck a bowling ball down the lane and you're like, no, you're like trying to like bend the ball after you've already thrown it. I think that kind of is the attitude that he has when he like develops the tides of chaos, is the ability to gain advantage on it. Like, it's the ability to gain advantage on any roll or ability check or saving throw, like once a day.
Turning the tide a little bit, understanding how to kind of like ride the wave of random.
Which then causes more random things to happen more often because he influenced his control over it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
he opens that door, so all of a sudden he's like, okay, I've dipped my hand into the stream to like prevent some water from going somewhere, so now I am more susceptible to it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I like that. And then at some point, Harlan gets, when he succeeds at something, he does a little soft shoe, and Gura calls it his random happenstance. That's getting back at you for all mushroom.
Good. Well done. Well played. Yes. Okay.
I've been holding on to that since the moment you said random happens. Okay, so... Anyway. To the seriousness of our campaign. So Harlan, you travel around with Gura, and I'm just gonna call, like, okay, so if Beza had a Mulan moment and Paru had a Lion King moment, you definitely have Robin Hood, like of you and Gura traveling the countryside of this world. You spend a lot of time with Her Majesty of the Folk in her realm, because you seem to have this natural magnetism for people. They like being around you, despite the crazy that happens around you. I like to think that, and I don't have a good word for this, I'm just going to use it. He has a bit of an idiot savant vibe, where there's something he understands just innately, even though he can't really articulate what he's sort of getting a grasp of, which is like basically fantasy string theory, understanding that things are connected and that you can pluck something and things kind of seem to spiral out of control, but it's sort of like an understanding of how to play with that chaos. Maybe not in a reliable way, but to play with it a little bit.
I do this sometimes happens most of the time.
Occasionally. With some reliability.
60% of the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just Sex Panther. 80% of the time it works every time. Kind of. So you and Gura travel the countryside. And Her Majesty of the Folk, her realm is very much a countryside. There are villages, and there's a lot more life in her kingdom. There's a lot more traditional vibes of, there's farmland and sometimes there's little cities and townships. There's places on the water. You do a little bit of rafting sometimes. That's just because of the hat you're wearing. And you start gaining a little bit of a reputation among the people of this realm. You gain a number of like you find your reputation starts to precede you a little bit, because I mean you're not that there aren't furbolgs or things that look like furbolgs. The idea of learning, you learn a little bit, you get a little bit of an insight of what Her Majesty of the Hunt meant when she called you like child of my children or kin of my kin. The idea that furbolgs descend from giant folk. But you also have this inherent connection to the Fae. This idea of this place is almost tailor-made to whatever sort of connections you have inherited with the existence of Fae. Seems to also have a little bit of an anchor here. You find, even though the randomness and the bizarre things that would happen around you back in the prime material plane was enough to be like, oh, this happens all the time, I'm a little worried this is going to happen again. It just exponentially increases in complexity of the things that happen around you and the frequency. It is pretty much a regular occurrence. Which is kind of why you turn into a bit of a lab experiment for Gura, trying to figure out how to trigger it or what to do. So you'll do all sorts of things like, he's a mix between Mr. Miyagi and Yoda. Sometimes you won't understand what he's trying to do. So it's like, okay, Gura will have you stand on head until vision goes blurry. Then we will see if spell happens, or like you will eat soup while also on your head. There's a lot of on your head stuff. It's good that Harlan has a bit of a flat top with the hat on. And so you, as I said, your reputation begins to precede you quite a bit. You show up in a town and there'll be like whispers, like, oh, it's Harlan. So it's, you know. Do you imagine that Harlan inherits any sort of like moniker, or just people just know him as Harlan, the off-shelfer? Yeah.
I think I hadn't given any thought to that.
You can give more thought to it. It's not required that you know exactly right now. But do you think he would inherit sort of more of a folklorish title, or do you think he'd insist people just call him by his name?
I think if anything makes sense, just the phrase
Harlan the Humble. That's
I do like that. I think
that's one of them. That's, you hear a song at some point. Someone sings about that. You said, "Oh, don't call me anything special," and they wrote a whole song about you not wanting to be called something special, in which they call you something special. The irony is lost on you.
I think the folksman.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the one that he's just like, yeah, I could accept that. You know, that makes sense. Because I'm part of the folk.
Yeah, you're just one of them. You know. Yeah. You're among them, and yet they treat you a little bit like you're above them, and then you there is a back and forth of that. You struggle a little bit trying to get them to just treat you like one of the guys, and sometimes they get a little zealous with their admiration of you. And you go around and do all sorts of things. You take part in festivals. You help build things for them. Like you've raised a barn or two in your day.
Tractor rides at the Harvest Festival, you know.
Yeah,
they call it the Volkswagen.
Fuck. Okay, yeah, they do. I can see now our dynamic as a DM and player. I see it stretched out before me. It's quite a bit of pun animosity. It will be an unending battle.
The man of the folk. That's it. Just the folksman.
Ruin Mouse. I think he's enhancing. So you find that you have garnered quite the reputation among the folk of this world, to the point where you basically have a little, like, reliably have a little bit of a fan club every so often. You like find that there are people that just follow your stories and there are bards that like sort of make it their job to tell like this week the latest installment of the Folksman, like basically it's just radio dramas. And you do also find as you get older.
Mhm.
So how does Harlan grow older? Does he grow older? I'm gonna say that time and the passage of time is not necessarily Heather, not
I just had a
it's an
mental.
only folks. It's an only folks.
And
Sorry.
only folks. Oh god.
By the way, Heather, I want it clear though that what I'm about to talk about had nothing to do with you. We'll get to it.
I was gonna say this is giving me a whole Bolin is Nuktuk vibes going on with the
That's
radio
what I'm
voice.
going for, yeah. I literally am watching that exact part of the show right now. I'm going to say that you experience aging in a way that would lead you to being a sort of a young adult. So even if like the age maturity rate of your different species would be different, the maturity you're experiencing in the book kind of has the trajectory of, so you're all kind of reaching the same age milestone together. So with that in mind, knowing that, say, for example, Aliette and Villain are probably the closest to human lifespan, and they will very much be in their early to mid 20s by the end of your journey here. You can sort of take from that what you will about how Harland matures as a furbolg. So if you want to talk a little bit about like how he changes personally.
I think that like part of that might be that during their travels with he and Gura, that because they go through because you can go dawnward or duskward or
Nightward and Dawnward, I think are the other ones.
So
No.
because you can do that, if they did that so many times, that it basically like accelerates.
It's just an elapse, like a quick elapse or whatever when you have the camera in slow motion. I think.
Yeah, but like the fact that they've gone so many places and been like they basically have seen more days.
I adore that. I adore that. Yeah.
And I just think that I think he as he develops, he gets like he's helping people and he's raising barns and he gets like that good old farmer's tan.
Slightly darker blue on the bottom. Amazing.
Giant golden turducken.
Ooh,
Welcome,
well,
Raiders.
that'll have to be. The giant golden turducken is clearly something that the townsfolk of some town treat you to. They make turduckens and they make cranpumples, which are a cranberry. No, a charpumple. I think it's called charpumple. It is a cherry pie, a pumpkin pie, and an apple pie baked inside cakes that are all layered on top of each other. And when you open it, it is 3 different cakes in 3 different pies. And
the pie caken.
yes, the pie caken. But it's 3 different types of pies and 3 different types of cakes that are paired correctly. So like the cherry one has a dark chocolate pie, the cherry pie has a dark chocolate cake, and the apple pie has like a carrot cake, like sort of a cinnamony sort of cake.
You're speaking about
And
Spice
the
cake right there.
And then the spice cake, that's fair. And then what's the other pie?
Pumpkin.
It was pumpkin. The pumpkin pie is the one that has the carrot, so it's like a kind of, it's an orange theme. Anyway, I saw that on TikTok recently, so I had to talk about it. So thank you, Raiders, for inspiring that. So you're wined and dined and fed to your fill. You experience the breadth of friendship and gratitude and welcoming spirit of Her Majesty of the Folk and all of her followers. But as Harland experiences all of these days, you were talking about maybe his physicality. What remind us again, what was Harland like when they first entered the book? He was a youngin, and he was short for a furbolg.
He was short and he was real pale for a furball. You know, he wasn't too sure of himself, and you know he just kind of tried real hard, you know, and everything that he put his mind to, and his hands to, and you know his feet to, and his back to, and you know
all
that.
So all this barn raising and all that stuff. How do you imagine him developing into an adult? What kind of adult is
So-
he to look at?
I think, you know, as he spends time in the sun, like he definitely like he gets like that a darker blue because he's like, more tanned for a furball. And of course he's got like a permanent farmer's tan, and of course like during his teenage years he has that like I never done one, you know, good trying there, you know. He tried not to talk just because it was real painful.
And when he got his first peach fuzz growth, and then it went to the rest of his
happened all over his
face and like his arms, and he
just
turned
got
basically a Muppet. I always imagine furbolgs have a bit of a Muppet fuzz, not fur,
I
just like
appreciate that.
just a peach fuzz.
It's you know, it's not something that is seen, but rather that is felt.
Where
also-
is Perception Studios for that one? So please continue.
I think that his would also get deeper as well. That he wouldn't just like stay this like reedy little farm boy. That he'd also, you know, become more confident of himself and as a man of the folk.
Mhm.
So
Sure,
you know,
sure.
and he would like kind of step into the fact that it's like, yeah, I am recognized because I do things, not necessarily because I deserve it. It's just I recognize that I do
You have
things, those things are recognized. You know, so I think he's confident in that and in his position in the realm because
Right.
of, you know, the effect that he is having. Like,
Yeah, and I think Guro's probably a big influence on you too. He's very much kind of a live and let live, or he seems very unflappable. He never has he rarely has a different mood. He's
Okay.
he's a very stable influence on you. For someone who is surrounded by randomness and unpredictability, Gura is very much an anchor, very much a constant. He doesn't seem to. He seems like if he's done any personal growth, he's done it all years ago. He's pretty locked in. Whatever he is now, that's what he's staying. But so if I may take a little artistic license, that Harlan might be what one considers a bit of a hunk. He's burly. He's got
sure. Yeah, he's good at choring. Yeah.
He's good at choring. Well, at some point, Harlan, you find that there is a niche contingent of your fan club.
Okay.
Some would call them groupies. Some would actually, they prefer the name harlots.
God.
And and so you find occasionally as you go to these towns that they'll just be, and we're gonna do another Disney reference, you find the trio of townsgirls swooning at you every so often, and there's not always three of them. Sometimes there's fewer, sometimes there's more of them, and you sometimes have hard day's night sort of experiences. There was an entire village of maidens at one point, and you're just like, no. Yep.
Just jet right out of there.
So you, as I said, have gained quite a bit of a reputation as this sort of, and it goes from this sort of folksy Johnny Appleseed kind of vibe to like suave, like lumberjack knight sort of.
Paul Bunyan.
Yeah, Paul Bunyan, but like hot. So like Paul Bunyan on a romance novel cover kind of vibe. Like that's the image that some people have of you. There's definitely posters. Like somebody comes up to you with a poster to like, it's like a watercolor, and they ask you to sign it. So Harland experiences instead of that like sort of so let's do a review really quick. You have Beza, who is going under this, and I do like the Jedi sort of metaphor here. This very finely honed, focused, almost ascetic kind of existence where you're with these hunters, you're with the huntsmen, and you live with them. You don't eat with them. You travel and learn from them, and you have this sort of like little wolf pack of a group. But even then, you're trying to be taught how to be an independent sort of solo hunter. So eventually, you start kind of peeling off and learning how to be strong on your own. Paru has the opposite experience of this close-knit community where she's being trained in a couple of different disciplines and really learning what it means to be part of a larger community and being appreciated for the things that she kept feeling like she was being kind of misunderstood for before. Now these are things that are actively bringing value to the extended family that she's building for herself. And Harland is finding that rather than the sort of quiet solitude of Beza, or like this sort of blending in with the group and being part of a whole that Paru is experiencing, he's kind of getting pushed up on this pedestal a little bit despite his best efforts. He's being seen as this sort of heroic figure, even though it's a very personable heroism. It's still a little disconcerting to be seen as something that I don't know how much Harland kind of internalizes that idea of being seen as a hero, or if he's just like, I'm just me.
I think it's a like, he can appreciate that they feel that way, but he's just like, I just do what I can where I can. I think that Harland the humble. I think that does come into play, where it's like, I don't think it goes to his head because there's nothing up there for it to go to.
The pure irony of the fact that Harland the humble gets cheered a lot, like just the fact that you try real hard. Like I feel like if Harlan and Gura had a sitcom, it would be every episode ends with him trying to get him to not do it, and then there's just cheering in the streets, and he's just like, and then like freeze frame and it zooms in. So yeah, the idea that you all have very different experiences here in the Book of Fae, but let's talk a little bit about what you all experience together. So you grow a little together, but how do you potentially see interacting with each other? You're kind of spread to the wind a bit for your training, but occasionally find yourselves back around. How about let's try a thought experiment a little bit. Let's kind of pair each of you off and talk a little bit about how you interact with each other and how, like, what your rapport is with each other as you start growing into more adults and start finding yourselves a bit more.
That was the shit.
And we can go to each person and they can talk about the other two if you want, if that's easier. But if any of you have a thought of that, I can try to prompt you a bit. But if any of you have a thought about how to share that, you can feel free to go first. But so feel free to just like raise your hand if you have a thought. But I'll talk a little bit through it. Yeah, go for it, Beza, please.
So I had one. I feel like at some point, Beza probably comes over to Harland. Says, "Hey, Harland, can you help me with something?"
Well, I do believe that I can.
I'm so happy.
Oh God!
Now, excuse me, I'm just a poor country furball.
All right,
my
so
good God.
here's the
Yeah.
thing. So, I've been doing a lot of fighting training, but not a lot of the hunters use magic. So, can you throw some magic stuff at me? Nothing that'll kill me, but just something that I can dodge around and practice with?
I cannot promise that it will not kill you. That will be on you, not be killed.
All right, that's fair.
I can try to be more careful though.
That works. Maybe aim at my feet or something?
I will certainly do my damnedest. So I think what he would try to cast.
Wonder why there's harlots in this world.
Right? Alan, I love you.
The
Oh my god.
first harlot was recruited the moment his voice dropped.
Well,
No, I like Harlequin better. I think that's better.
There's
think,
warring factions. There's like two warring groups of people. So yeah, go ahead.
I think the first, he like kind of cracks his knuckles and he's like, "All right, now this one was inspired by what my mother always used to say every single time that I would do something slightly out there. It's called Stop It," and casts Chaos Bolt.
So what does Chaos Bolt do, pray tell?
It's an undulating, warbling mass of chaotic energy towards one creature, and I make a ranged spell attack, and it's 2d8 plus 1d6 damage of a random damage type.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Would you like to play that out?
Well, I mean, he'd purposely like try to. So let's say that he's like, you stand next to that scarecrow right there, and we'll stand in front of the scarecrow, and I will target you, but go towards the scarecrow. So hopefully you will be able to dodge out of the way, and I will hit the scarecrow, because otherwise I would be short a short friend, as it were.
All right. I'm tougher than I look, but I'll do it.
And he casts the spell, and
Well, it's a targeted spell, so dodging out of the way isn't so much a thing. It'd be you against my AC, but
he is purposely trying not to hit you. He's just
she tries to track where it's going so that she can like dodge around the bolt and not get hit.
if like dubstep were a ball. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Amazing.
Whoop, whoop.
Wub wub wub. It's good stuff.
So that's what comes out, and
Okay.
have to. I don't know, like that's all I got. I don't
No,
have-
that's great. No, totally great. Totally
Yeah,
great.
that works. I just picture her like she rolls across the ground to dodge away from the bolt, and then as she pops up on her feet, all right, throw another one. And just keeps going until you're done.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, aren't you just an energetic little biscuit?
Oh my god. I love him so much.
I'm dead.
You know what, Kyle? You were worried, and I'll tell you what, this is just a whole new level of delightful, so I think you're fine.
All right. Beautiful.
For the record, I was sculpted, not baked, but all right.
You are certainly sliding all around there like like butter's dripping right off you. So regardless of how you're made, you are taking to it like something take to something very well.
All right. Is butter that yellow melty stuff that people are always putting on bread?
I was gonna say the huntsmen
well
are
with-
very fond.
Well, grits without butter is just a situation I do not want to be in. Get
I
that
don't eat.
negativity right in my life.
I just want that on a t-shirt, Beza. I don't eat. Beza gets a margarine sponsorship.
I can't believe it's not butter.
It's yellow and it melts on your bread. What else do you need?
This is like the best like mascot for a butter bread.
It's like, what do you want? It just melts in your bread. Who cares?
Melts on your bread.
My friends liked it, so I guess it's all right.
My kids love it. I just put it on the bread because it makes them happy. I just want them to be happy. I just love them so much.
It would work well for one of those like diet butters that tastes awful because you can't taste it or eat it anyway.
Oh my god, did your parents ever buy the spray? The butter, like,
Yeah.
oh!
Yeah.
Because that was like my mom's jam for a long time. It was just like, no, you just get a spritz on it. I'm like, that's not, no!
That'd be pretty gross on jam.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like butter.
Mm-mm.
That's why you're not supposed to believe it.
I can believe it.
Well, my will save, thanks.
So, let's, what about Paru? Paru, you end up with your buddy, Sniffs, but do you try to stay connected to the others? And we'll
Yeah.
talk about Oliet and Villain when next week, but for their part, these two.
Yeah, no, she does, absolutely, because, I mean, they were her first friends ever, like, so she's definitely not going to ever give that up. I think that the way she interacts with them changes, because half the time she does forget that words exist. For, like, the first, like, 15 to 20 minutes of conversation, she's like, I don't understand why you're not. Oh, I'm communicating in Myconid again.
Yeah.
I'm so delighted that I took a Vegapikme as a language that I know. I'm just like
Oh,
mentally.
yeah, we forgot to talk about that. That should be like you do find Vegapigmies in the Fae. There's definitely a collection of those around, so that you have plenty of other non-mushroom based friends to make.
It's like, you know, most people go vegetarian. Paru is now the exact opposite. It's all meat all the time. Because no, I'm kidding.
All
No.
meat, all dairy.
Ah.
She's on keto.
No wonder
This is
she's just
just
like
like-
ripped.
Coming over periodically with big steaks.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god. Continues. I think she's definitely making sure to keep in contact, especially around like big events and things like that. She does not understand the groupies thing. I mean, she thinks Harland is awesome and is very cool. So she's like, but the idea that like people are trying to like chase him in that way, she's like, I don't like. He's my.
I think he appreciates that.
He's just.
Like,
Sure. Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
from his side, I'm sure that he would actually like go to visit Paru specifically when he's like, I can't people at this moment, so it's like let's go where I don't have to people. They'll just like spore everywhere, and it's just communication. I just have to think about things, and it'll happen.
It's
I can't stumble.
his like spa retreat where there's
Yes.
mandatory silence.
Mm-hmm.
T-A-I-Y-E.
I think she's definitely all about almost being that place of zen for friends, and just kind of like, let's just go, for lack of a better term as the druid, let's just go commune in nature and just chill and take a break from lessons and studying and take a break from work and just chat and remember why we're friends in the first place. I think that's kind of her MO, is to remind her friends of why they're doing things.
I think it'd be like also, you know, because the Myconids have these like Mycomoots, or I don't know what you call it, like mush raves, where they all gather and
Right.
You
communicate.
you know Paru's got some psychedelic spores going on somewhere. She's
Oh,
like, let's.
Once she is of age to do so,
She figures
will
that
have
out real quick.
Sure.
Hey, you silent Ben. Um,
I'm dead.
yeah, and that's all I got to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not like party mom. She's like party mom. If you get my meaning.
Hey,
She's the mom of the party.
Yes.
No. She puts the party in party mom. How about that? Okay. What about Harlan? How does Harlan's attitude change or stay the same about his fellow party members? What does he think about them as you guys get older and they clearly are starting to specialize in certain things, and like Beza's turning into a bit of a fighter, warrior for a just cause sort of thing, and Paru's turning into a crunchy.
Yeah.
It's turning crunchy.
It's turning crunchy. Smells like patchouli a lot.
Granola eating. She goes to a lot of Flaming Lips concerts. Let's just say that.
turning my keys. I think that he has this like rapport with all the people, and like people know that he's gonna be somewhere in advance of him getting there. I think that most important to him would be is he's since he spends the least amount of time with his friends among all the people, just like as far as percentage is concerned, he spends a vast amount more time with other people than he does with his friends. I think that almost like elevates them to a slight pedestal as far as priority is concerned, because he's not really sure what they think of him. And so I think their opinion,
And they knew him before,
right?
you know.
I think their opinion becomes more valuable. So like he feels
grounded.
it's more that like he's more afraid of his randomness causing them strife or grief and them turning their backs on him than he is of the potential like fallout from something random happening with the folk, because like the folk almost like expect it and they're just like, yeah,
Here it comes. There's like some of them have like a splash zone thing, like they have ponchos just in case.
it's like somebody drops a plate in the cafeteria and everybody applauds, but without like it's that level of attitude, but without any of like the snarkiness. It's more of a like, yeah,
Sure.
hey, yeah, you made some noise, good job, not picking up.
It's like that kid from The Incredibles, sitting in the driveway on his bike.
Wicked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think he values his friends more, his opinions more, than he did coming in the book, just because like, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm super eloquent tonight. I apologize.
That is okay.
I used all my brain power on all my mushroom puns. I shouldn't have done it.
So let's actually, I'll do another thought experiment. This is gonna be, like I said, sort of a loosey-goosey episode. So let's say you get to spend some time, or get to spend some quality time, with one of the other queens of your choosing. Who is it? I will describe them again, because I totally didn't finish describing them before, so I have to kind of figure out what I said. So you have Her Majesty of the Vine, the Minotaur with the briar horns. You have her wife, her beloved, Her Majesty of the Word, who is an elven woman with this lace brocade dress, who seems to also have been revealed to be the narrator of Oliet's thought what she thought was an aneurysm or something. Or no, she thought it was a concussion talking to her.
That's right.
And you have Her Majesty of the Folk, the Yuan tea woman who kind of dresses like a barmaid and is very invested in the people of the world. Her Majesty of Trade, who is a Triton, with kind of a seafaring vibe to her. Her throne is all flowing waves. You have Her Majesty of the Hunt, the Storm Giant, who you spent a bit of time with. And Her Majesty of Beauty, who I won't describe yet, unless someone picks her. So there you go. You have your pick of the queens, and you tell me who you wanna spend a little time with, and get to know a little bit over your journey here in the book. Please feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to volunteer to go first. Whoa. No, there's nothing to be frightened about. Okay, Tessa, so Paru.
I think Paro wants to spend some time with Her Majesty of the Trade, especially after the conversation they had about trying to find her another fire weasel.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely. I was really torn between Her Majesty of the People and Her Majesty of the Trade until I remembered the fire weasel conversation. I'm like, Paro's still very one-track mind.
So what you find interesting about all of this is the queens are, for the most part, independent of each other. They have their realms of influence, their spheres of influence, and how they sort of individually affect the world and craft it. But the more you get to know what each of them are responsible for, the more you come to find that almost every single one of them is somehow partnered with Her Majesty of the Word. She has a bit of an overarching, I mean, not that there is a hierarchy, they don't act as if there's a hierarchy, but by sheer point of the fact that you are in a book, it seems like maybe she has, let's say, a broader worldview than some of the other queens. That she like, and we've already touched upon it a little bit tonight. Her Majesty of the Hunt talking about how she and the Queen of the Word talk about, like, they've developed these runes. That's sort of something they've done together. You have obviously the partnership of the Queen of Vines and the Queen of the Word. Theirs is of more romantic nature. Her Majesty of the Folk. Harlan, you encounter Her Majesty of the Word because stories. There's bards singing your praises. Her Majesty of the Word hears about all of them. Anytime something is, anytime a pen is set to paper, she is aware of what is written. And it's same with Her Majesty of the Trade. Now, Her Majesty of the Trade, as I'd said before, she's a curvy Triton, I believe. And she talks a little bit, you get a sense of that there is a lot of ocean, a lot of water. There's rivers and things like that, but there's like just vast swaths of water. It's almost like if you went further, there'd be more to explore, but it's just so far away that no one ever really does. And Her Majesty of Trade is commerce and sharing. The harvest festivals are very much her and the Vine Queen's realm. But something that is unique about Her Majesty of the Trade, especially since she seemed to promise this fire weasel, is that it almost seems as though she can speak to other books. not get you out of the book,
But speak to other
but
books.
can find pathways to access other books. And now you're not 100% sure whether that is books in the library you were in, or if it's a very particular set of books, things like that. She is she is a little cagey about the exact nature of what she does. She is the opposite of Her Majesty of the Folk. She's very secretive, with that sort of wry amusement that she knows she's keeping a secret from you, but not maliciously. She likes her privacy, and it seems as though traversal or communication between books is something that is kept very close to the chest. It is not something that one always wants to.
I love that Ange can tell just from mine and Tessa's face that she should look at chat.
I should go look, and I was not disappointed.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
So Her Majesty of the Trade makes a deal with you, Haru.
Alright.
She'll go seek. She'll see what she can find.
Okay.
And she will seek out. And she asks for information, like you gave her the title of the book, Little Big Boy's Book of Maritime
Economics. Yeah.
First book of Maritime Economics. And she goes on a journey. She's gone for quite a long time. She seems to be one of the queens that doesn't have to always be in the same place. She's a bit more transient, more nomadic than the others. And for some time, she is gone, and you're just left like, oh, okay, I guess I just go about my business. And one day, when you wake up in the, let's call it the myconid cuddle pile.
Sounds about right.
There's no personal space with the mushrooms.
No.
Yeah. You're awoken to like this little like scritching like noise.
The mosh pit.
Like yep, like someone's making biscuits on your chest. There's claws. It's a little like ow on your shoulders and like on your face a little bit. And there is a little glow of ember, and like this sort of hard carapace, sort of like scales down the back, and a little like face. The fire weasel does, for all intents and purposes, kind of look like a pangolin, but we're gonna say it's a little more weaselly than that. But yeah, it's like making biscuits on your face. Ow, ow.
Baby. And she just kind of like starts giving scritches.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't squeeze it.
You're not Elmira.
I am not Elmira. At this point, she's gotten old enough to not squeeze her friends. She just gives little scratches.
So yeah, you see that Her Majesty of the Trade seemed to have followed through. You don't like see her for a long time. It was just delivered to you.
She is appropriately grateful.
You eventually do hear back from her, probably at a Queen's Moot at some point. I imagine that over the course of your training, there might be a number of Queen's Moots, and the idea is to sort of basically you're getting report cards. Like, there is some ceremony to it, and they want you to feel connected to everyone. So what they do is actually almost like a little bit of a talent show, where you show off what you've learned, and each of the queens get to kind of flaunt a little bit what they're honing you into. Because you can't believe it's not garlic butter. Sorry,
I had muted myself from stream, but not Discord. I apologize.
Oh, Well, then no one understands what the fuck I'm talking
It's
about.
alright. I apologize. No,
Anyway.
Logan had asked me if I wanted something to eat, so.
Gotcha. But so yeah, so these occasional queen's moots will happen where you're basically you're checking in with everyone, and there's still that surrounding audience of members of Her Majesty the Folk's court, and it's a chance for the queens to kind of show off a little bit of what they're honing you into. And so you do encounter Her Majesty of the Trade again, and she checks in and asks how your friend is doing.
He's doing remarkably well. He's just over here. And so she
I hear you all talking different voices. It's fine. Everyone but Beza.
Yeah, my voice is stuck like this forever.
Yeah, it is. Oh god.
I imagine that Paros gets more raspy because she just doesn't use it for really long stretches of time.
And when she does, she's just hotboxing in the mush pit.
Pretty much. So she calls him over, and it pops out of like a bag that she carries on her hip, like a little little weasel pops out and
She's like,
scratches.
Behind you.
She kind of like just leans back on Sniff's, like, okay, safe spot.
Yeah, pretty much. He's very much your emotional security mushroom.
He totally is my emotional security mushroom, absolutely.
And Her Majesty of the Trade is very pleased, and she like offers a little finger and scritches the nose of the little fire weasel, and she says, "Now to the subject of payment, or rather, deals. The
Yes,
other side of our bargain. I have a request of you when you arrive back where you came from.
Of course.
I would like you to bring the book to another library.
The one that we're in currently, or the one that this guy came out of?
And she looks at you like, you're a sharp one, aren't you? He knows what he's fucking doing.
I had muted, nobody heard it!
Nobody heard it?
No one heard it because I muted the second I heard him walking in. Oh my god, how mean!
Audience, Logan just came in with Tessa's dinner and said there were extra mushrooms on it. That is what you need to understand just happened. That's why she looks like someone had
horrified.
Had kicked her fire weasel. Anyway.
That is the mountain troll, absolutely.
So Her Majesty of Trade is very amused by you catching on to that little detail.
There was a slight quirk to the corner of Potter's mouth.
Mm-hmm. And also, take an inspiration for that, because I sort of love it.
Yay!
And Her Grace says, when you'll leave, you're going to have a book that would lead you back here. Take that book to a different library. I'd like to expand my horizons for the betterment of all.
Of course.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
She nods. And Her Majesty of the Trade is, as I said, a curvy Triton. She's got sort of a pixie cut.
Nice.
And very pirate accoutrement.
Well, Tessa's in love.
Yeah, well, that's all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
Tessa just wants a Polly Queen storyline.
Yeah,
Which is what
well, which is what I'm getting.
Yeah. Um,
She kind of leans back and to sniffs a little bit more contentedly, like, yeah, it's doing good. This is good. Kind of grins up at him.
Feel it
Yeah.
on your head. He's like a giant Nerf mushroom. That's kind of the
Bayback's hairy baby. Just kind
fire baby.
of.
Weasel.
Mhm.
So yeah, and that is your experience with one of the queens. What about you two, Besa and Harland? Do you have a queen that you would like to have had an encounter with, or some sort of uh visit with?
Sort of, but mine's a little different. So if I don't know if
Sure.
Kyle picked one for Harlan already.
I hadn't settled yet. I'm kind of the coin is spinning.
Okay.
Okay,
So
then I can do mine. So Beza actually goes to the Queen of the Hunt one day.
Uh-huh.
Your Grace, can I ask you a question?
Of course. What is it that you want?
Well, I'd like your advice on something. I'm loving all the training I'm getting here. You guys are amazing, and the hunters are fantastic.
I'll give you a 10 out of 10 on Yelp. It's wonderful. Sorry, go ahead. Please, I can't keep doing that to you.
All right. But the thing is, as much as I love it, I feel like to be the best fighter I can be, I need to be really well rounded. And since I can't gain any weight, I'm wondering who else you think I should visit to train with.
Well rounded.
Yeah, because I haven't spent a lot of time with the other queens, so I don't know who would be the best option for me to learn more from.
All right. Kyle, who are you debating between? If you're debating between them.
I was debating between Vine and Beauty.
Okay.
I have my reasons for both.
Sure.
My reasoning is simply that, like, Beza has very few interactions, if any, with the other queens.
Right. I'm trying to figure out who would be a good fit for Beza.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like Beza wouldn't know and doesn't necessarily want any one particular thing that one of those other queens could give her.
Uh-huh.
So asking for advice from her mentor made the most sense to me.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. Harland, I would recommend. Well, tell me your rationalization for both of those. Maybe we can figure it out.
So for Vine, it's pretty straightforward that he comes from a farming community, and so spending time with someone who's very in touch with nature makes sense. Just seeing, if I had envisioned him as because he's more in touch with nature, that like he's more focused on the elemental spells.
Sure. Yeah.
So like that might be her domain.
That would be, yeah.
On the social side, because he is a bulg of the people,
Bolg?
that being able to
He's a folk bolg.
folk bulg, being able to like interact well with people that he meets, like he knows he's not the sharpest tack, so I think that he would think that she has a firmer grasp on social situations, and that she might be able to teach him some like etiquette as far as like social situations are concerned.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know that he would have otherwise interacted with the Queen of Beauty.
Yeah.
Aside from like
She's more
very
enigmatic among the queens. It's hard to kind of nail down what she does or what she's in charge of.
It's also the fact that she set her husband on fire, and he's just like that's really badass. And so like
You gotta get
just
to know someone like that.
getting
you
to
know?
talk to her just would like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool. Like people hero worship Harlan.
All right.
You might hero worship her a little bit.
All right. That sort of settles what I was thinking. Her Majesty of the Hunt responds to you, Beza. I think that perhaps you could learn a bit of unexpected qualities from uh, my wife of beauty. Though I would recommend you don't go alone.
All right. Should I take Tuscandale?
Oh, I don't think he's prepared for a journey like that. So take one of your friends.
All right.
Nudge, nudge. Hint,
Haru's
hint.
got some sort of mushroom retreat thing going on. So
She's going on retreat, which is when they like go to they go out to the desert and just hang out.
Oh my god. It's absolutely
There's this
Bohemian
giant
Grove.
There's this giant cactus, right? In the middle of the desert.
It'll quench you.
Just
and Elliot sitting for a test. I don't want to take Villain.
amazing.
He gets me in trouble. Harlan might go with me. I was gonna train with him later anyway, so I'll see if he wants to go. Does that work?
I think that would work quite well.
Verlaine is at the desert retreat with Paru on it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Man, let me tell you, short stack, you take me to the best parties.
Crime buddies for life. Crime buddies for life.
Sorry. Spoilers. Oh my god.
Thank
Kyle,
you for your help, Your Majesty.
I didn't even see that. It's very good. So, I'm just splitting the difference here because I really wanted to see what I needed there to be comparison for this particular person. So, Harland and Beza, you take on a bit of a mini quest, a mini journey over the mountains, past Her Majesty of the Hunt's realm, and it is a bit of a trek, like a long trek. But you're heading nightward. Twilightward. And eventually the sky darkens as you journey up the mountains. It's freezing cold. Beza, you're not having a good time. Lots of furs. The huntsmen equip you with lots of furs. And you sort of do this little like Lord of the Rings crane shot over the mountains. If anyone hasn't noticed, my DM style is basically just wholesale explaining shots from different movies. So I apologize to anyone who doesn't have the lexicon of bullshit in the back of their head that I do. And that's how I experience the world, apparently, is through montages. So you journey day and night, for whatever that means, as you head towards one of the far corners of the compass of your map in your head of what this place looks like. And you reach near the edges of Twilightward. And what you find when you get there, when you don't know you're there till you're there, you're on the edge of a sort of ice shelf off the edge of the mountains, on the at the base of a mountain. And this ice shelf sort of meanders into a coastline and then kind of fades into the ocean beyond. And above you, there are stars, more stars than you can count, more stars than you can fathom. It's not even dark here, it's lit. There are so many stars. And you see them meet the horizon, and then they're reflected back in the ocean. You're just seeing two planes of stars, like two skies of stars. And standing in the distance, you have to walk a little bit to the edge of the coast. You see a figure. And this figure is wearing a, well, it's kind of hard to describe. You find yourself finding it hard to describe. Because in point of fact, Beza and Harland, you both see two completely different people when you look at this person. And what I need from both of you is to describe to me the most beautiful woman that either of your characters can imagine. Based on their values.
Okay. I have an idea of what Beza would see.
Go ahead.
So for Beza, especially with her very short life and lack of life experience.
Oh God, it's just your mother-in-law.
No, hell no.
Or your stepmom.
No, I think for her, the Queen of Beauty is a little bit of each of the other queens.
Okay.
So like she's got the
Sure.
incredible height and just like force of presence of the Queen of the Hunt. But she seems very approachable and maybe has some like iridescent scaling on her face, like the Queen of Folk.
Sure.
You know, maybe the like piratey vibes and like the long flowy like water tossed hair of the Queen of Trade. But also a very regal and like delicate features like the Queen of the Word and sort of the majestic crown made from the horns and vines, like the Queen of the Vine. So just like a little bits and pieces of each of the queens combined to form this one, just like this is the most beautiful person she can imagine, because the queens are for her the most beautiful people she knows.
Sure. Okay. Harlan, what do you see? Who do you see, rather, if you want to describe them?
I think Harlan sees
Swear to God, if you say his mother.
that was the first thing that popped in my head, but no. Mama, what you doing?
God.
You see what I'm saying, Baze? I think the person that he sees is wearing coveralls that are rolled up kind of mid-calf.
Mm-hmm.
The bottoms have like grass stains on them, and their feet are grass stained as well. Good corn-fed like strength. Just
You're describing my type right now.
it's like a woman that like a woman that looks like she could equally leg press you or bench press you, but like with a layer of
Sunny,
like a layer of soft over that.
You're just describing every single one of my D&D characters. Next, you're gonna tell me it's a raging lesbian.
I think a very loose ponytail, like that's braided, like loosely braided. I want to say that she'd be a furbolg, but I don't know that, like.
Maybe it's a little hard to tell.
Yeah, I think it would be a little hard to tell. It's that, you know,
Elven, giant, fae, just
like, yeah, maybe a combination
Yeah.
of the queens, but like not as stark of a blending
sure.
of them. It's just like
Sure.
if you took all of them and then put them through several layers of pantyhose on the camera lens, you know, like
Just a little Vaseline.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Soft focus for days.
okay, I love that. Thank you both. Those are really cool. So, Her Majesty of Beauty has turned to you, and that's why you described who you saw. And she walks towards you both. I like to think he has a bit of a pompadour now under his hat.
It just happens. I don't.
He
I
just
don't-
just natural. I just wake up like this. And you
He's
wonder why you
rockadoodle.
have hairlets. He's just
Yeah, but
rockadoodle.
it's pomade.
He's a Dapper Dan Furbolg. And so, Her Majesty of Beauty sort of glides towards both of you. Regardless of what you see, there's an elegance to her, even if it's sort of like a down home elegance. I will be asking you after the show. After the show. And she smiles to both of you in sort of this very the only way I could describe it is an "oh, there you are" sort of smile, like she'd been expecting you. I was curious when one of you was going to show up, but I'm very pleased to see it's two. How have you been? It's been ages.
Have we met her?
She was in the room.
We would have
Oh, okay.
at the Queen's
Got it.
moots, but not like
There, but again, very enigmatic, very aloof. And you each saw something different, and
Yeah.
maybe you haven't gotten a chance to compare notes yet and realized that you all see something
probably
different.
not. Beza does a deep bow or whatever salute the Queen of the Hunt group uses. God. The three fingers.
It's
It's
just
very nice to meet you, Your Grace. Officially meet you. I know we've seen you at the Queen's Moot before, but
I'm sorry, my thoughts are often elsewhere at those things. Far too much ceremony.
there's a lot
for my
going on.
taste. Well, I've expected you, but I must say I'm not quite sure why you're here, though. Not that you're not welcome.
Well, ma'am, I got the invite from Beza here, and I felt that it was my solemn duty to be her escort on this rather excellent journey that we had to undertake in order to reach you. Oh, you're as fine as a frog here, split 4 ways.
Aren't you a charmer?
I have been told.
And she has this warm, inviting laugh. She's magnificent.
I don't know exactly what his commentary meant, but I do agree that you're absolutely beautiful, Your Majesty, which makes sense. I'm here because I asked my queen, the Queen of the Hunt, or Her Majesty of the Hunt, which of the queens I should visit to get myself more well-rounded. Because I mostly just spend time with her, which is great, but I haven't learned a whole lot of things from the other queens, and I didn't know which one to focus on, and she suggested you.
Well, I'm flattered. I'm not quite sure what she expected, but well, I suppose we could have a chat.
As far as my piece, ma'am, if I may be so bold as to say that
Please be bold.
the the way that you expertly dispatched of your not so dearly departed ex-husband, uh,
Well, not so much dispatched, I'm afraid, by the sound of it.
at the time you had committed your efforts into doing it, and I do admire that. And I felt that someone of your skills and talents might have some manner of instruction for a humble bulk such as myself.
He's got a good point. The whole lighting him on fire thing is really kick-ass.
Specifically, that I'm interested in.
Well, I'm afraid that mass immolation of the forces of darkness might be a little outside your power range at this point, but
You may be surprised. I've lit some powerful torches.
He has done. That's true.
you still have that toy torch somewhere as a keepsake.
Yep.
Um, and so Her Majesty, she considers for a moment, and well, how about we sit and have a bit of a taking of our ease, and I don't know, tell you what I know. I have certain tasks as part of our agreement among my wives, but and she's a little it's somehow even more charming that she seems a little humble, or she seems a little not as when she behaves, she just doesn't seem as intimidating as the others. She's visually incredibly intimidating, but there is just something very personable about her.
Is there anything we could help you with?
Now that you say that, I think there is. And she turns back to the coastline, and a light starts to sort of undulate in the sky. Very dim at first, and a little brighter, and it almost feels at first like an aurora borealis. It's almost Northern Lights-esque. And in this sort of flickering wave of light among the stars, you feel the light on you sort of reflecting, and on the snow it goes from blues and greens to purples and oranges, and it just kind of goes through the whole chromatic spectrum as in this sort of aurora you start to see, for a moment you're just sort of assuming it's a little ink blot, like you're imagining shapes and making connections and patterns, but you do start to get a sense that you're actually getting a glimpse into images in the aurora, and they're not moving images. They're quite still. They start getting a bit more definition and shape in this aurora that you see in the sky. But they start looking almost a little watercolor, and then they start looking a little illustrated. And there is a moment after one image flickers by that you come to realize that what you're looking at are glimpses of the illustrations in the book. All the artwork, gilded and painstakingly painted, the beautiful artwork on all the pages of the Book of Fables. You see the maps, you see the story of the tower, you see a dragon, you see the gargoyle's claw, all of those things just fluttering by in this aurora. And occasionally, though you're very mesmerized by what's going on in the sky, occasionally in the corner of your eye, you sort of see those images also kind of reflecting off the glaciers around you on the mountains, kind of floating by. And she looks up. She's just watching, like she's stargazing almost. And she just speaks without turning to both of you. It has been a very long time since I've added anything new to the pages, but it does seem that we have some new characters to immortalize.
Beza, I do believe that she means us.
Really?
Of course. I try to make a point to
I'm not.
include everyone. It's a family portrait of sorts.
Well, that's just fine. I don't mind that one bit.
I'd be honored. I'm a little bit of white on white on white, but otherwise I'm honored.
I'll work on shading.
You've got some, cream color bits and some, that nice bronze metal. You've got your, your levers and your gears and those type of things. You've got lots of colors to you. Don't you worry none.
I need to pause for a moment because I need to get this out of my brain so that it doesn't rot my skull. My brain just went, it is so rude to talk about someone's cream colored bits. I almost had her say it, but it really didn't fit the tone of the moment. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Holland.
So-
I appreciate that.
Oh, and I agree. You're both very distinctive. I mean, you and all your friends are, but what I would honestly could use your help with is posing for me for very brief portraits.
But you,
I promise it's very painless.
I did not assume that there would be any amount of physical discomfort involved.
Well,
aside
when my reputation revolves around fire, I assumed you might have had some impressions of me.
he had it coming, and I don't believe I've done anything to deserve such behavior.
You get another one of
Um,
those warm laughs from her. She seems easy to laugh. Or maybe she likes you. It's hard to tell.
Is it your preference if we is you do you want something in a manner of
Slowly get into a superhero pose.
is something that you might see in an admiral upon a cask of rum, or
Hat on or off. Sort of.
so I almost wish I had my shovel with me.
Only hat on. Would you like me to hang the hat for you? Sorry.
Oh my god. So these are no longer children, so now the rating of this game has gone up significantly. Fair warning.
Do you want us in like an action shot, or do you want us posed, like on one of his posters that people are always selling?
Do you
Seen
like
those.
those?
Sorry.
Harlan? Do you like or do you enjoy those, Harland?
Them there has been some artistic license in some of them, and I will not speak of some of them I have seen in some establishments off of the beaten path in some
He's
of our,
got somewhere he only has his hat on and not on his head.
of that head anyway.
Jesus Christ. Anyway,
I am
so
delighted!
Harlan, she kind of like her eyebrows go up a little bit in a way that seems to indicate to you she has seen every painting that has ever been made of you in this world. And maybe some you haven't seen yourself. Honestly, all I really need from either of you is a statement of purpose. Get a good sense of you. I like to capture the essence rather than the physicality. It might not be exactly accurate, but someone will look at it and know exactly the kind of person they see.
You want
So,
a verbal statement, or you want a physical statement?
verbal is fine.
I do believe I know what mine is.
Oh, please enlighten me.
Blessed are the flexible, for they shall never be bent out of shape.
And there's a moment of pause as she politely waits. Oh, that's it? That's
I've been.
beautifully concise. No, you caught me off guard. And that does not
Brevity
happen
is the heart of wit.
often. Well, I think I have just the thing then. Thank you, Harlan.
Ma'am.
And she walks up to you, Harlan, and puts a hand on the side of your face. Well, she reaches and then goes, "May I?"
I'm not. I do believe that I'd be all right with that.
You're you're teetering to Porky Pig right now. um, and so she reaches out with her hand and sort of holds the side of your face and makes eye contact with you. It's a very intimate thing. Like like if you're not used to eye contact, like it's very like, oh, I feel like I just got to half base just now. You got to the plate is what happened. um and she just kind of meets your eyes, and then she smiles a little and she lets go of your face and just says, "There." And Harlan, you see over past her shoulder a blue wavy cloud start to kind of coalesce among all the art that's being sort of glimmered past you in this arcane PowerPoint presentation. Uh, and um, uh, and very, a very beautiful, not photorealistic, but like all the edges smoothed, all the like some of the blemishes are still there. It's not trying to like it's not trying to clear you of any imperfection. It's just an interpretation. And it's this beautiful sort of almost like noble square-jawed sort of image of you. Still got that dopey ass hat on. But yet she managed to make it seem almost genteel in a way. And there's just a moment where that image, there's part of you that are like, yeah, that's pretty much me. That's pretty close. But something about it sort of inspires a feeling of just for a moment, all the best things that they sing about you. And you like believe them for just a moment, looking at the picture. And she is beside you suddenly, like you didn't notice that she had moved. And she's also looking up at the sky. And so what do you think?
I think that I have never seen a more beautiful likeness of myself, that you have laid my soul bare, that people look at that too long, I will catch old and pneumonia.
And she gives another bright laugh. almost a belly laugh at that. Harlan, you are an absolute delight, and I am very glad you like it.
Much obliged.
And what of you, Beza? Any thoughts? She looks at you knowingly, like she's expecting something from you.
Well, I mean, I was built to protect, and I still feel like that's a big part of who I am. I might be getting trained to hunt, but I'm hunting the things that are dangerous for the people that need protection. Also, big things can come in small packages.
They certainly can. And do. And she walks up to you, Beza, and she says, "May I?" And she has her hand sort of outstretched. She puts her hand on the side of your cheek and makes that eye contact with you. And when she makes that eye contact with you, there's something that's sort of like something that kind of stirs a little bit in the back of your throat. It's not something you've felt before, but it's sort of a feeling of something in the core of you feeling like it's been seen for the first time. It's hard to describe beyond that. It just you feel very seen by her. Like down to the atoms. Where there's so many things. You're such an amalgamation of material and technique, and you think a little bit about that as she's meeting your eyes. And there's the bronzing, there's the mechanical pieces, the metal and gears and the swords, the weaponry that is in your bones. And as you're thinking of all the things that make up you beyond just your mechanical nature, you get a thought to what is greater than the sum of your parts. And there's a moment of feeling almost like the air shell that is a part of you. You almost have like a bit of an out of body experience. It's the air shell that makes up you is also sort of like the you of you, if that makes any sense at all, and you're not sure it does. That you're more than the machine, that the air shell that is part of your sculpt is your soul. It's your essence. It's the person that you are. And for some reason, her looking at you like this, and it's almost you're almost uncertain if you're thinking this thing or if it's like you're feeling her seeing all of this. But you get this sense of personhood that is actually kind of new. It's not what you felt when you've just like thought about yourself. And she lets go of your face and she smiles. And she glances up at the sky behind you, and you look behind and see in the reflection of the sky in the aurora this very gentle, warm white light start coalescing in the patterns. And it is you. It is almost photorealistic. It's in kind of a like an oil pastel material. It's soft and she does get the shading. It's subtle. It's beautifully subtle. It's like the colors are like when you look at a really beautiful Renaissance painting of the sky, like the clouds. How you think clouds are white, right? Clouds are white, but if you actually look at a painting of the sky, there's no white in that picture, in those clouds. It's all other colors that create the sense of like translucency and complexity, and that is sort of what she's managed to capture. And it this idea that you aren't just a pale white, that there's every color when someone technically looks at you, or like the way she painted you, that's beautiful. It's sort of energizing to have, to see yourself like that. You think a lot of the idea of like, you even said it, you're white on white on white, but not the way she painted you. And she is beside you, and well, I hope I captured that sort of bluster that Sir Tuscandale has clearly instilled in you.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
I only paint what I see.
It's nice to be seen that way. It's nice to realize I should maybe see myself that way.
Maybe that is what your lady wanted you to learn. She kind of
It
like,
does kind of sound like. Yeah.
we're all rather frustrating, aren't we?
I mean, I wouldn't use the word frustrating. What's that word that means like hard to interpret sometimes?
Obtuse?
That's the one.
And you get that warm laugh from her. Well, you both have quite tuckered me out. I'll probably rest a bit before trying to reach out to your friends, because I really would like all your portraits included before you leave. It would be unfair to not commemorate your stay with us.
We'll definitely make sure that the others know to come visit you.
Good. Thank you.
We are mighty obliged for your time, ma'am. It was an absolute pleasure to come up here and make your acquaintanceship.
The feeling
It was
is
nice.
absolutely mutual.
It was nice to meet you too.
Before you go, just on the offhand that me being able to paint you is a bit of a one-sided thing. Know this. When you leave this place and you are in possession of a pathway back here, and you sense that she's talking about the book, there is a page waiting for each of you. A gift. The finding's half the fun, though.
So, all right. Sometimes there's, those things that, mother says, I got you a birthday present and you shouldn't try to find it, but she secretly does hope that you would try to find it. Is this one of those types of situations?
Oh, I absolutely want you to find it.
Wonderful. That is a nut I would like to crack.
I can't wait to read it. Well, I'm still working on my reading lessons, but someone can read it to me if there's big words.
It's okay. I mostly deal in pictures.
Perfect.
And she nods to both of you. Well, I'll be off. And I'll see you both very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. At the very least, at the next Queen's Moot.
I'm sure there'll be another one soon. She kind of rolls her eyes.
I think so.
And she says, well, you best be off. Best of luck on your journey. It's a mite easier on the way back.
Cold.
No. And
through a montage of some sort in order to yeah. So
and she kisses her hands and blows you a kiss to both of you. You put it in a jar. You and Paru are hide things in your hat buddies.
I know, I love it.
I love that everybody's got a weird thing that they do together. and you both turn back to the mountains. And when you turn back thinking like, oh, well, I'll just, one more thing, and she's gone. And the aurora is just an aurora, and it slowly fades and shimmers out of sight, and you're left with the 2 panels of stars heading to the line of the horizon.
Will.
Wow.
That was a time and a half, I must say. Twitterpedia doesn't cover the half of it.
Yeah, you were actually stumbling over your words a bit again.
And in the presence of true beauty, as she appears, did you see her coveralls? They were just magnificent. The finest of denim. And you could tell
Coveralls?
that she used her hands for a living. It was, Yes, ma'am.
I didn't see coveralls. She had on this really pretty, like, dressy looking top and some, functional pants, like really nice leather pants.
Coveralls, yeah, they're functional pants.
And you both continue on your journey debating what she was wearing. Eventually you come to an impasse. That you just both are using different language. It's that frustrating argument you can have with a friend where you're just not using the same vocabulary and you just chalk it up to not being able to communicate well about it. But like, oh man, wasn't she awesome though?
Yeah,
She
and
sure
her
was.
horns were amazing.
And then you get into a whole new argument. And so yeah, that is your experience with Her Majesty of Beauty. So the 3 of you, and well, the 5 of you, spend a considerable amount of time in the book. You grow as people, you grow as warriors and mages and whatever the heck the lane is. And
Crime buddies.
you are molded and you break the mold as far as most of the queens are concerned. But we will continue that story next week with discussing how our young storyteller and her friend with the cute butt is are doing during these adventures you have. And that's where we'll end our session. And that is the end of chapter 6. Next week, same time, same place, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We will have chapter 7, which is tentatively but absolutely goddamn titled The Eye of the Were-Tiger, because we're not done with these training montages yet, people. We are Shenanigoons. This is our little D&D show where eventually you will contribute to the chaos. We're getting close to the chaos contributions, and we hope you'll join us for our next chapter. We have a lot more stories to tell with these heroes, and they're about to actually be heroes, for better or worse.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We want to thank again our network, Nerdsmith, all the people in our community, and our sponsors, our incredible sponsors, Eldritch Foundry, World Anvil, and Die Hard Dice. We are we are beyond grateful for their support and the fact that we can offer what we can to you, our viewers. Especially thank you. We are so grateful to have you every week joining us on this journey and breaking us in the chat and just in general being as nonsensical as we are. And I also want to absolutely thank my players. You guys are amazing. I am so happy that we're continuing to grow these characters, and I can't wait to get beyond what we've already discussed as a trajectory. I can't wait to go into unknown territory with all of you. All right, everybody, that's our show. We hope you stick around with us here on Twitch or on Twitter, also at We Are Nerdsmith. You can get heads up for when we go live with our shows. The current schedule for this week is tomorrow night. I will be hosting Discover RPG at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's about an hour of me just kicking around all of the letters of the acronym RPG. Friday, we continue our whatever the fourth would be of penultimate. We have 4 more episodes.
Oh god, is that it? Oh, it makes me sad.
Actually, let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we're gonna do the 4th one, but we might.
We'll
Fourth
see.
one's on the 25th.
Yeah,
the 4th one is Christmas. We will have to find out. How beautiful would that be for that to be our last
My, we've got a new
would be awesome.
subscriber.
So I will
thank
talk.
you.
I will probably be performing on Christmas. Maybe I'll just do.
I may
Christmas.
pop on with you and just do Christmas
I
songs
wanted
only.
to do a Nightmare Before Christmas round.
Oh,
and
hell yeah.
like,
Most Christmas carols are,
Oh my, we've got a new subscriber.
thank you, Anonymous, for your tears. So in Choking
Thank you.
and Thorny Dryad, you now have subscriptions. Thank you for being here and supporting us. So Friday is Nerdsmith Sings Our Heart Out, where we're continuing to support the Bale Project. So if you'd like to find out
Oh
more,
my, we've got a new subscriber.
Find out more. And is there something on Monday?
We have something on Saturday and on Monday.
Okay. Please tell the fine people about those things.
So, on this Saturday at, I believe, 7 o'clock Pacific, we will be doing a Cyberpunk Red one-shot where I will be leading a merry crew through the Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart Kit, kind of celebrating that release. And then on Monday, I will be doing another one-shot highlighting the Onyx Path Kickstarter for Dead Men's Rust next Monday evening at 7 p.m. as well. I'm very excited about both of these projects, so please come and support the show, support Onyx Path and Cyberpunk Red as we highlight some non-D&D folk. It is not a sea shanty night, although it would be kind of amazing. Dead Men's Rust is going to highlight the plight of the Hollow Legionnaires from the Scarred Lands setting, and it's very, very interesting. Mr. Blink said is exactly what I thought too. Dead Men's Rust, I was like, oh yeah, it's pirates.
Yeah.
Not pirates, but just as cool. Maybe we'll sing some sea shanties anyway. But yes, so tune in this Saturday and this coming Monday for some fun one-shots. They will not be quite as silly as my Frostlands or as my Frosted Flakes, as we were calling it, campaign, which ended last night, but it's very fun.
Well, I'm very excited about all those. Thank you, Tessa. Once again, we are Shenanigoons. This is our 3rd campaign, the Book of Faebles. And we will be, we'll see you next week for Chapter 7 with our full gang, hopefully our full gang in attendance from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
Chris had a prior obligation that I believe is wrapping up as of tonight, so we are very excited to. Honestly, this worked out perfectly in terms of story. I'm glad I was able to kind of like until she was fully available. But so yeah, chapter 7 next time. Eye of the Were-Tiger.
Excellent.
We will see you next week. Have a wonderful week. We hope to see you on one of our streams, but if not, have a good week. Take care. Make good choices. Wear a mask. We love you. And please do me a favor and be good to each other. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.